Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Inside Out Effect podcast. This is podcast number 10, I believe. My name is Jonathan Shaw, and I am the host this week. I'm not the actual speaker. My good friend, colleague, my supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, delicious colleague, Stephen Jakes, is going to be speaking today, and I'm going to be interviewing Stephen Jakes. And this is the Law of Attraction Part 2, The Revenge. We're coming back for more. We've had so many people ask for Law of Attraction and talk about Law of Attraction, and we're doing so many talks in it. And there's only so much we can cover in a short space of time, so we thought we'd do another podcast. But this one's going to be more about Stephen telling you about more the application and the science behind Law of Attraction, and little tips and tricks on vision boards and imagining and how to create your reality and actually getting those techniques to work for you. So it's going to be a really fun-packed podcast, and we're really looking forward to it. We're very excited about it. We've had lots of feedback and comments about our last Law of Attraction podcast, and everyone is completely fascinated by this. So how are you, Stephen? How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, mate. I'm supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Oh, yeah, very good. Yeah,
said that without slipping up as well.
You did, that's right. You
quite well.
You got all the way through it, yeah, that's
How
right.
articulate of me.
You're very, you've always thought you're very articulate.
I'm really good, mate. I've had a really cracking week.
Yeah?
I've had a lovely week.
What's been happening?
Apart from obviously working with clients, I've had some really great results with them this week. Obviously, it's been a busy week in general. We launched the Inside Out Effect.
Yes, it was our launch week. Yes,
it's our launch
the expo on Thursday that we did.
Yes, we did the exhibition on Thursday, which was great.
Which nearly didn't happen, but we manifested it okay, didn't we?
Well, yeah, that was
quite
actually
good.
A very good point.
We managed to manifest the outcome the way we wanted it.
Right, so should I talk about that?
Yeah, talk about that.
Right,
That's a really good example of how things can appear to not work.
Yeah.
And then how you can turn it around very easily.
Yeah, so myself and Jonathan, we've been going to a specific networking group run by Aaron Desmond, and he's an absolute superstar at this, and I've got to give all credit to Aaron. He's probably the best in the business out there. He's an amazing guy, and he's so good at what he does. But we've been going to the regular networking events, and we were doing it as a reboot, and so we'd joined the actual organisation under the Reboot brand. And which involved our friend. But now, obviously, since we've sort of decided to go our separate ways and do the Inside Out Effect together on our own, when I last spoke to him, I said to him, don't worry about that, just carry it on. We'll take over the payments and we'll carry it on.
Yeah.
In the meantime, our friend didn't know that and cancelled the membership.
Yes.
But I didn't know he'd cancelled the membership.
No.
So the night before the event, obviously I've been really busy, been on holiday, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and we got all the banners done, all the leaflets and everything. We're really gearing up for it.
Yeah, we're
really excited to launch this official launch in our business together.
At this event.
This is the exciting thing. And then Thursday evening, what happened?
No, Wednesday evening.
Oh, Wednesday evening.
I finished a really, really busy day of clients. And I thought, do you know what? I don't even know what time we've got to be there or what's going on.
So I'd message Aaron final time.
Yeah, that's right, you did.
I didn't know.
So I thought, oh my God, I better do this because, it's getting on. And I really worked late. I was up to, it's about 8:30, I think it was. Anyway, so I phoned up Aaron and I said, hello, Aaron. I said, listen, mate, I haven't heard anything from you. And I just want to know what time to be there. He said, you haven't got a stand. I said, what? He said, you haven't got a stand. I said, you're joking me. I said, we've got all the leaflets printed, all the banners done, we've done all the printing, all the artwork design. I said, how comes? He said, because your mate phoned up and cancelled the membership. I said, yeah. I said, well, I told you that we was going to take over. Anyway, obviously, massive breakdown in communication.
Yeah, totally.
So for the last few months, the payments haven't been made, and so therefore he just assumed that we weren't going to be at the event.
Right.
So I'm like, oh my God, gutted. So I contacted you and said, there's been a big misunderstanding. It is what it is. But anyway, look, it all happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So that night, using these techniques, which I'm going to talk about earlier on, I was laying in bed and I just imagined and visualised actually us at the event, and I imagined getting a text message saying that someone had cancelled and we could go. We could actually, represent. We're replacing the company that's pulled out, and we can turn up, and everything's going to be great.
Yeah.
And I get a text message at 7:30 the next morning, doing exactly that.
Yeah.
So that's exactly using these techniques of actually how it actually works.
Yeah.
So which was actually a really, really great event. So I just imagined what I wanted to happen. I really believed it was going to happen, and actually bingo, it actually happened at 7:30 the next day, and we had a really, really amazingly cracking good day in 40 degrees worth of heat in a nice unair-conditioned sports hall.
Yeah.
So
yes, it was very good.
It was very good.
Especially when the fire alarm was set off. And we had to leave and go outside in the blistering heat where we could have burnt.
Yeah, it was.
It was
hotter outside than in the sports hall.
We had more chance of catching fire in the sun than we did from the fire in the hall. Not there was a fire in the hall in the end, but you know.
It was ridiculous.
But I also want to say about that is that when we found out that we might not happen, we did let go of whether we were going to be there or not.
Yes.
We didn't go, oh my God, it's not going to happen.
No, we didn't make a drama out of it. No,
we didn't drama it. We just went, you know what? We'll clear any blocks that are in the way, and we'll just change it. And you visualised, and we said we'll go down in the morning, and if it happens, if not, then we'll just go with what guides us.
Yes.
And where we're supposed to be guided that day.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people, what they often do is they go, oh my God, it's never going to happen, I'm not going to do it. No.
Well, no, what you'd have done is you'd have reacted negatively. You'd gone, oh, I don't believe it. I thought I've spent all this money. And then you would have got into this really angry, resentful state. You'd have beaten yourself up. You'd have been angry at Aaron.
And then it definitely would have happened if we'd done that. If we'd done that, none of that would have happened.
Yeah. I just
pushed it away, because then you're in law of repulsion.
Yeah, in law of repulsion.
Because you're just pushing that away then.
Correct, yeah.
So no, you don't want to be doing that.
Yeah.
So this is just a really, it's a simple example of how this works and what not to do and what to do, and then things 9 times out of 10 work out. And if it hadn't, we'd have just gone with the flow of that day, and it would have guided us somewhere else.
See, the old me would have actually had a right old hissy fit over that.
Yeah.
And I'd have been on the phone going, I don't believe it, blah, 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 and we ain't got it, and we've paid all this money, and we've done all this work, and we ain't there.
Yeah.
But because obviously I'm no longer triggered because of all the work that we've done, so I'm in a different place anyway.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, okay, and well, it is what it is, and you know, obviously these things happen for a reason. It's our mistake for not getting in contact with her, and it generally is our mistake for not actually phoning him up and making sure and not leaving it to the night before.
Yeah.
Because we just made these assumptions, and that's where we make a lot of mistakes. But when it happened, I said, oh, okay, well, it is what it is, and I spoke to you, and funny enough, you said exactly the same thing to me as I said to him, and so we're both in alignment with that. Well, look, obviously it weren't meant to happen, and, you know, if it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen. And so, you know, we didn't have any animosity or negative energy towards the situation, and because of that I was able just to imagine that we were there, and I imagine him texting me saying that there's someone's pulled out and you're welcome to go, and bless him, he didn't charge us a penny for the exhibition either.
So good.
You've got it for free.
So good.
So Aaron, you're an absolute star. If you're listening to this, we really are grateful and truly grateful for that. But and it ended up being a really grateful day.
It was a grateful day. It was a
grateful day, but it was a really great day, and we met some really amazing people there. And I got specifically one of the accountancy and consultancy businesses that we got speaking to, if you remember.
That's right, yes.
And I treated his daughter.
Yes.
And I think you're treating one of the directors as well, but you treated his daughter, and I haven't actually met him. He actually contacted me by the phone, and I hadn't met him. And so when I actually saw his name on his tag, I was like, I know who that is. That's a dad.
Yeah.
So I went up and introduced myself, said, hello, how you doing? And he was like, oh, I know who you are. He knew who I was before I'd even... And anyway, which is a bit weird how he knew who I was.
Yeah, no.
It sort of sense to who I was.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just got chatting to him, and his daughter's flying. I mean, she had 8 sessions with me. She's absolutely flying. And I said this earlier on in the podcast about this girl. She was a bit special. But the thing is that because obviously they have a massive consultancy arm to their business, and accountancy firm and all the rest of it, they're going to potentially take us and use us as part of their consultancy deliverables, you know, when they go into a business. So, and that was really, really promising. So, and we both know, you know, people high up in that business. So anyway, enough of that. But that was really, really good.
That was really good. That was a really good day. We met lots of potential things. There was another lady there who we met who's in the mental health awareness in the traditional modality, and she was
works for the council.
But she was very interested in our way of looking at things, because she obviously recognises that she said to us,
well, their paradigm is to manage, maintain, and control it.
And she said that's their paradigm, but it's just keeping people stuck with it. And she thinks she thinks we need to educate people to elevate themselves above that and go, no, let's get rid of it, not just manage and control it, which is what we're doing. We're trying to do the same thing and go, no, you can get rid of it. You don't have to manage and control it. So it's nice to hear someone within the council who wants to take people further.
Well, they're ready to embrace it.
They're ready. It sounds like some people in that, at least, are ready and really want and love the idea of being able to change it, even though they may not know how to do that just yet. So that was, again, a very positive step.
But I think she knows it's not working.
She does, yes.
You know, and I think
she sees people still suffering with it. It's not changing their suffering.
Yeah.
They're just living with it day to day rather than perhaps falling apart. But they do fall apart every day. It's not changing anything. And it's keeping people stuck. And I spoke to so many people about the Mental Health Awareness Week, which was, you know, great. Everyone became aware of it, but then there was no solution to it. It was just nothing happened. It was just, we're all aware of it. Yeah. Now what do we do? Nothing changed. And that's great that we're all aware of it, but again, the problem is that you can change it. So it was a really great introduction to our business and opening our business up, and a really good example of how law of attraction works when you're starting up a business, for instance. When you're starting up something new, things do go wrong, things happen, or they appear to go wrong.
Yeah.
But actually, things that when they go wrong, that's not always wrong. No. In fact, the universe doesn't make mistakes. It's an adjustment. The universe doesn't make mistakes. It's rarely so lazy. Yeah. And so you just have to kind of flow and ebb with things. Yeah. And when the
thing is what I found for all of the stuff with the law of attraction stuff and the manifestation stuff is that as soon as you react negatively to it, you're going to manifest that negative response.
And you're going to be talking about that in the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And so,
before we get to that, because that's actually part of what you're going to be talking about.
Absolutely, yeah.
Before we get into that, do you have any other stories of law of attraction or people you've helped in the past week or so?
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time, because as soon as, you know as well as I do, as soon as we clear anything from somebody's life, so there's this lady I've been seeing for a while. She's really one that's lost loads and loads of weight, and we met her actually. Funny enough, she came along on Thursday.
She came along, didn't she?
She came along to an event on Thursday.
Tell her story.
She was very, very brilliant, because I mean it was great that actually it's all very well us telling people that what we can do, but when you've got somebody there that's experienced it and can tell the story, so it was really great. But so the last week I was clearing relationship stuff up with her, and obviously she's got a lot of self-worth issues, and you know she'd put on a lot of weight, and you know she's really her life wasn't generally working for her, and we can actually safely say she looks amazing now, and the weight's falling off her, and she's so happy, and she's a great girl. But she's had these relationship problems, and so there's one specific person from her past that keeps coming up. So anyway, I cleared it. I said to this bloke, right? So when I said, so when you think about this bloke, what's going on for ya? So there was all the self-worth issues. There was all of the things where she'd felt guilt and shamed about being, you know, but allowing her to be taken advantage of. And there was all the guilt and shames of, you know, how she showed up and what she allowed happen. And it just goes on and that. So I switched all of these off. And and obviously this person not been in the scene for a long, long time. So I cleared that on the Sunday, and then she was going away for the weekend, so she was leaving mine Sunday morning.
That's
and
right.
Driving to where the destination she was going, which is about 3 or 4 hours. And I got a text message 6:00 that night saying, "You won't believe who's just contacted me," and it was the guy that I cleared in the treatment.
Yeah.
So the guy that she cleared, I cleared all of her energy around him within 8 hours. Yeah. He'd text her.
Yes, that's right.
And there'd been no contact for ages. So as soon as I cleared all that energy, she contacted. And I can actually say that the same thing's happened to me too.
That happens all the time with people. That's the way it manifests a person. Once you get into the person contacts you or something happens.
Yeah.
And
I've experienced it loads of times.
It works really, really well.
Yeah, so that was sort of one. What about you? Have you had anyone like that?
Yeah, actually, 2 things this week. Actually, really good. I met up with a guy for a meeting who was actually at our last Law of Attraction talk, and he came along. He was encouraged to come along, and I had a meeting with him. And on the Law of Attraction talk, we taught one of the simple DTO techniques. And this guy was really, really stuck. He tried lots of things. He went to a load of things that you tried, and you know, nothing really worked for him. He studied a lot of things. And all we taught was a really 5-minute technique in DTO, wasn't it? And we taught a basic way to clear guilt and shame. And he took that technique. He went away, and in the past 2 or 3 weeks, or 2 weeks since we did the training, or we did the talk, he's actually applied that, and he's actually been able to clear things finally. He's actually been able to clear things out himself, whereas before he couldn't do it himself. He had no way of doing it himself. And he's actually, before I saw him, he wasn't able to work, he wasn't able to do his job, he was getting things come in, but he couldn't take them because he was just too anxious and too stressed.
So he's been triggered by it.
So he's being triggered by it.
Yeah.
And by clearing a few things out himself, he was actually able to take work, and he actually did 4 days of work the week previous to I saw him. So just by one very simple technique that we taught in 5 minutes, he was able to go away and clear a percentage of his stuff. so that he could actually move forwards and feel happier. And he started to feel more happy in himself and just be happy with where he is right now, so he can move forwards.
Yeah.
So that was really, really good because he cleared something and then manifested.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Go on.
I was going to say I know what that's like because I spent years learning about how the brain, the mind, and emotions work, and actually, I would like to say I'm fully well versed on it all.
You are well versed on that, yes.
But it didn't change anything once I learned it.
No, it doesn't. No.
And what's the most annoying thing is that a simple 5-second technique would have solved the problem, which I'd spent 4, 5, 7 years learning about.
Yes, that's right. Yes. That's the
so
one. That's all right. That's fine.
I feel like I wasted 7 years.
Yeah, that's fine. That's I like to really make people feel shit.
Yes.
But no, I don't. That's the problem I see. I see it all the time. People spend so many years
it's trying to understand
things, and unfortunately, what I've learned, because of my own problems that I had, and when I struggled with a lot of my stuff that I couldn't clear, I had to let go of everything. We were talking about this earlier. I had to let go of everything that I'd been taught.
Yeah.
Mine and Steve's progress happened when we let go of everything we'd been taught. We let go of everything that we thought about the problem, and that's when I created DTO, and that's where Steve got his move forwards and started changing, because everything he'd been taught didn't actually really work in the real world.
Keep you trapped.
It keeps you stuck and trapped. And if you want to solve a mental health issue, we have to look at it differently to the way it's looked at today. It's got to be completely flipped on its head, changed round, and have a much simpler understanding of the brain, a much simpler process for getting to the root, and a much simpler way for switching it off, which is what DTO is. And a prime example of that is a lady who messaged me while I was in this meeting with this guy, and she messaged me. She's an old client of mine, and she's come to me over the years, and we tried loads of things to get rid of her depression, her anxiety, and we did the DTO system with her, and we made progress, and then she wants to go away and do it on herself because she's learnt the full version. She's done it for long enough. She knows how to do it herself, and I was comfortable her to go and do it herself. And she briefly went back on antidepressant because something big came up for her, something huge, and it sent her into a spin. And she went briefly back on them, and in that process, she's gradually done DTO on herself, brought it all down, and I got a message from her the other day saying, "Guess who's coming off antidepressants?"
Wow!
She did it herself.
Fantastic.
She's actually done it herself. She's cleared everything. She's followed the protocols of DTO, and she's cleared it herself, so she can come off it herself. And I was so proud of her. So proud of her that someone who's not really... I mean, she studied bits of therapy, but she's not a therapist. She's just a normal human being like everybody else. She took DTO and just worked through her bits, bit by bit. And when intense things come up, because sometimes they do, she stuck with it. She went through it. It was tough. It was hard, she said, when the emotional response came up, because it was so deep for her. But she went through that. She cleared it bit by bit, and she's come out the other side. And that is when someone gets better. When someone takes the system, follows it, and keeps going with it, and goes through the difficult part, and keeps going, that's when the really stuck people that I work with get better. So I do work with very, very stuck people who are very, very challenging sometimes, and the ones who really, really get better from it are the ones who actually do it on themselves.
So was I challenging them, mate?
Yes. Yeah.
Was I?
No, he wasn't really. No, he wasn't
was.
challenging from the point of view it was hard work. It was challenging from the point of view that there was a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
And there was a lot of belief systems you had that you were clinging on to about how the world works, and that were actually glitched and making you worse. Yeah. And that was the problem, one that you had about astrology. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, love astrology, that's great, but there are some beliefs in astrology that keep you stuck when you're trying to clear things. When Saturn moves around the moon.
No, Mercury retrograde.
When Mercury retrograde comes, everything goes wrong at that point. And I've treated a lot of people who've said that to me, and I
treated a woman last Wednesday the same thing. We had exactly this conversation, and now she's realised through the conversation I had with her and through my own personal experience that as soon as you do that, you're now blaming something external for all of the problems that are going wrong. But that's actually, it's not. It's what's going on inside of you.
It's what's going inside of you. Yeah. That's right. And when you're blaming the external thing, you can't do anything about it. Yeah. So you're a victim to it. You then end up suffering, and now that creates
you fear it,
and you fear it because as soon as it comes around again, you're like, oh my god, what's going to happen now?
Yeah. Oh my god, Mercury retrograde's coming around. Lock yourself in a house for 3 days.
Exactly. Yeah.
She actually said to me, I haven't gone and bought a new dress outfit for this wedding I'm going to on Saturday because Mercury's in retrograde.
Oh my god!
And I'm going to make a bad decision.
Oh really?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And I looked at her, right, and I obviously challenged that. And then once I'd explained that...
Sorry.
Oh, hello. Hello, Alexa.
Alexa just joined in.
Yeah, we will do.
Clearly, we're not making ourselves clear enough for a computer automated voice system to understand the complexities of the law of attraction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel we need to explain it a lot clearer, because otherwise Siri's not going to know it either, and Google Home's never going to know it. It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, but anyway, so based on that, I obviously challenged her with that and pointed out what was going on. And then once I'd explained to it, she was like, "Oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? I've been doing this all my life." And then she just got that learning, that realisation straight away. And so then she goes, "Right, I'm going to go and buy my dress this afternoon." What a load of nonsense! But it's just
so
really
many people do that.
Yeah.
And we're not saying astrology is a load of nonsense. There's lots of astrology that's really great. But the bit that makes you believe that the stars moving around the moon are going to cause you problems, that actually gets lodged in your brain, and then you end up believing that. Yeah. And the problem with that is that whoever put us on this planet, whoever put us here, whether you believe in God or not, or whether you believe we are intelligent human beings, whoever put us here, I don't believe they said, you know what, we'll make human beings absolutely amazing, and they can give life, and they can create and be productive and create all these super things. But as soon as the Earth moves around the moon,
as soon as Mercury goes into retrograde,
we'll fuck them all up. Or as soon as the tides move, they'll go a complete mess. Or as soon as they come into contact with another human being, that's it, they'll be screwed for the rest of the week. Yeah. This is just complete nonsense. It doesn't happen, and I can categorically say it because I've cleared those things in myself, I've cleared those things in clients, and I didn't stop Mercury moving around retrograde. I didn't change that. I just changed the energy of the person and the belief system.
It is the belief system, because if you believe that when Mercury goes into retrograde that travel plans are going to go and electronic things and communications are going to go wrong, guess what's going to happen?
That's what you get.
Exactly what you believe.
The old analogy, what you believe will be your reality, is extremely true. Yeah. But people don't think about positive things being a problem, because that's seen as a positive thing.
Yes.
And that's the problem. Positive things can be worse. Positive belief systems can be worse than negative ones.
Yeah, but the problem is that you're actually now you are actually now using blame, or you're a victim to your circumstances based on that.
Well, you're giving your power away as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You're totally giving away your power and going, well, I'm completely powerless, I'm helpless.
Oh, there's nothing I can do today because Saturn's just transited Jupiter in Virgo, so damn.
And the problem with that is we then feel weak and powerless as human beings, and that makes us feel less of something. Yeah. And then we feel we have no control over anything, and it just circles and spirals.
Well, the other thing as well is you're waiting then to be rescued. You're waiting for God or the planets to go in a certain place. And so I'm going to just say something to this, because when I got into a really, really bad place with my situation several years ago, and I couldn't find an answer, and so I did start looking into spiritual things, and I did start looking. This is how I got all this understanding and learning about astrology, because I thought, well, nothing, real life, real therapy don't work, right? It's not helped me one bit.
No.
So there must be something else going on. I knew that there was an answer somewhere, and I was searching. But the problem is the research, the people, and all of the stuff that I watched and learnt about it. I started to believe that at some point, that when certain things would happen, that an event would happen in my life that would heal me.
Yeah.
So, but that was the problem, is that was keeping me in this waiting for this certain thing to happen. Yeah. For all of a sudden, for me to, because I tell you that it's all energy and how you feel. So when the planets move, then the energy changes. Now your energy changes. Now you're going to feel better. So I'm waiting for this certain thing to happen so I can move out from the state.
So you're waiting for the planet's energy to move so you can feel better.
Yeah. So so my energy changed.
Yeah.
But actually, it was a complete load of nonsense. And because what I've now had to realise is that everything is hardwired neurologically.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if Mercury blew up and disappeared. It ain't going to change the energy, because all the things that were causing me all my pain and my suffering and all of the stuff that I had was all hardwired emotional experiences from the past in me. And I had to go into each one of those experiences and switch every single emotional response off in order to me to be free from it. But all the time that we keep investing in other things outside of us, we're always going to have them. And I'm going to say there might be 1%, 0.5%, 0.1% where they've just had this miraculous healing from something's just woof, and it's happened, and I've heard of it, and it's changed their life. But
that's not the norm.
That's going to be as rare as rocking horse crap as they say.
And often you have to do the hard work, put the hard work in, and sometimes if people are severely depressed or anxious, it does take time. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about a lot of almost instant healings, and we do get a lot of those.
Yeah.
But I also work with a lot of challenging people, and it takes time to work through it, bit by bit, week by week, day by day, until you finish clearing it. Because some people can have a lot of triggers, some people can have a lot of guilt and shame, and that just takes a bit of time. It doesn't take years like traditional therapy, but sometimes it takes a few months, sometimes it takes 6 months.
Yeah.
But once you come through it, and once you go down that road a little bit, you see the improvements, you see the change.
Yeah, you can change your car, you can change your house, you can change your job, you can change your clothes, you can change your food, you can change your drink, you can change your habits, you can change everything. The problem is nothing's going to change.
No.
Realistically, the only thing that's going to change is you're driving a different car, you're living in a different place, you're eating different food, you're doing different exercises, but
inside you doesn't change.
Inside you doesn't change. You're still going to
makes no difference to what's happening inside you.
And the quicker the world can learn that, the quicker people can do something about changing their problems and their feelings and their hurt and their pain and their suffering and their past traumas and experiences, and they can literally change anything in their life to become happy, free, joyful, loving, peaceful, and living from that. Because as soon as you go back to all of those experiences and change them, that's where you live from. So it is a choice now. And you either choose to keep going out and buying clothes and going to Pilates and doing this and waiting for the change to happen to you, or you own it and you can actually do it using DTO to actually go and change everything. I know that because that's exactly what I've done, and I like to say my transformation has been, amazing. And
you no longer look like one of the Cray twins. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. It's a great. You think I'm joking, but you really did. That is the key to it. But the key to it is to heal yourself from the inside. Yeah. And so many people are still trying to do it from the outside. Yeah. They're still trying to change the world from the outside. Yeah. But actually, all the world's problems are happening inside of us. Yeah. All the world's big problems.
Which also comes back to this, what I'm going to talk about in the law of attraction thing, which we're going to do in a little while. Now we're going on a bit today, but I would like to talk about one. I've got a couple of things as well. Maybe I'll just talk about the one because we're only half hour into the podcast already. But I had a guy who was introduced to me from a guy in London. He was living in Africa. And when he lived in Congo, and at the time he was living there, I think he was 6, 7 as a child, there was a civil war between the French Congo and the Belgian Congo. Right. And his dad worked in construction there, and his dad would pick him up from school and then drive him to the construction site. And whilst being there at the construction site, waiting for his dad to finish work, there'd be missiles being shot across the construction site from one side to the other.
Wow.
And anyway, so what would happen is as a child, he'd hear the whistling noises and then he'd hear the explosions. Well, once he'd heard it for the first time, as a 7-year-old kid, he got absolutely petrified and scared. And so another time it happened, he heard the whistling of the missile. He then got out of the car and ran like hell, and ran and been trying to get safe. Yeah. And big explosions going off. And his dad would actually run after him and jump on him and hold him to the ground and say, no, don't run, never run, never run. And this happened several times. And at that point, he developed a really severe stutter, and he lost all of his education, went out the window. Yeah. And he went from being a super brain to an average, really very under average, I think he said, student. And that was when he was 6 and 7. So there's a lot of PTSD. He's been living with this PTSD trauma from that event since the age of 7. Yeah. 6 or 7. And I spoke to him at quite length, trying to get an understanding of what was going on. But so it was, and it's still affecting him now. But I did a treatment with him on Sunday across the internet. Actually, I hadn't met him before, so this is the first time I'd actually just met a client over the internet and never done anything on the internet before. So I did a Zoom, and I cleared the whole PTSD trauma of that in just under an hour.
Wow.
And it had gone, so I checked it the next day, and it had all gone. So that whole PTSD trauma of all of the missiles as a kid, and it literally all went. So for me, that was an amazing result for me, because when he told me that, when you hear some of these stories, my instant thought is, oh my God, this is I can't clear that. No. Oh my God,
right.
How am I going to do that?
That's right.
Where do but I literally, once I'd sort of let it settle, and I knew, I do know. But when you first hear it, you think, oh my God, damn, I can't clear that. That's so horrifically. But we know the process works. I got straight into it within within no time at all.
Yeah.
Got rid of all the guilt. Most of it was guilt and shame.
Yeah.
He felt guilt and shame because he felt responsible. He couldn't, and he felt stupid because he couldn't do anything about it. And it was like blaming himself for the missiles that were being sent by his
Which is not logical because he was 7 years old. That's not logical, but that's what the mind does. It creates these guilts and shames that we actually couldn't do anything at the time because we had no control over it.
It was his fault. He actually believed it was his fault.
Yeah.
Which is, wow, I felt for him. Really
and I see people like that all the time. They blame themselves for things they actually had no control over whatsoever and wasn't even in their power to control it. And we all have these things. I've had those things. You've had those things. And the power of being able to change that with such a simple system,
an hour,
in a really short space of time, the power of which that will change his life, is incredible.
Well, I think he's just early 30s. Wow. So he's had that since 7. So he's been living with that.
So 23 years.
23 years. Let's say 23 years.
Yeah, that's a long time with PTSD.
Yeah.
A long time.
50 minutes or an hour gone.
Amazing. Well done. That's
so I'm really happy with that.
That's really fantastic.
I'm really happy with that. And it's a friend of a friend who helps us as well. So he's over the moon as well.
Yeah.
And so, it's really great. So I'm really pleased about that. So
really good. Well done. Good, mate. That's absolutely brilliant. I think that's fantastic. So, I guess we've given some stories, things. Let's get into the meat of the presentation, the Law of Attraction Part 2.
Law of Attraction Part 2.
You're going to cover the 3 main steps of the Law of Attraction. Yeah. What those 3 steps are, and give your tips and tricks, your insights that you've learned and what you've learned as you've been using. Because I know you modify and change. You test and change quite a bit.
Yeah, I do. You need to.
Which is good. Yeah. And find out what works, what doesn't work. Yeah. So you have quite a few tips and tricks on the actual real deep secret techniques that they don't necessarily teach you in The Secret.
Yes. That's why it's called The Secret. That's the thing. That's the bit they leave out.
They leave out the secret techniques. So apart from clearing the sabotage and the guilt and shame, there are some secret techniques that you're going to take us through. So take us through those now. Tell us how you do it.
Okay, cool. So I thought this was a load of nonsense. I thought it was a load of mumbo jumbo, magic.
Why do you think that?
Well, because when I first heard about The Secret, and you could literally, it was all about, you could imagine or dream or feel like you've got the thing and it will come to you. You will just attract it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people got caught in the trap that if they just sit there thinking and dreaming and imagining that they'll have this thing, it will just come into their life. I fell victim to that, and obviously none of it worked. None of it worked ever. No. And then you think, this is just a nonsense. It's a load of nonsense. And and I was trying bits and it just didn't work. None of it really worked. I never really manifested or created anything. And so I sort of just poo-pooed it, really, and just then said, and I became one of the naysayers. And I know there's a lot of people that are naysayers. You it's all about a law of hard work, and it's all, and I do agree, it's about law. You still have to work hard, but it's not working hard, it's working smart. And actually what I learned is that the problem that we have in the world is that we're so focused on the money and the material that supersedes anything that's in alignment with our true, genuine, authentic self.
Yes.
And so most people are working against themselves, even though that they're getting...
Totally.
They're working against themselves.
Yeah.
So, but the problem is you need to have a job, you need to pay your food, you need to pay your bills, you need to do that. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So you'll go and get a job and do it for 25 years that you hate, and you hate it, and you're always ill, and then create all these imaginary illnesses for not being there, and you would be so negative. My job, I hate it. My boss, I hate it here. The pay is, I want another job. I've been there 20 years. I don't know any different, and that's basically creating a really shit reality. And so. I started looking into this stuff a little bit more because something happened, and for some reason I got introduced back into it again. I think I stumbled across the video, which was amazing because there was this person basically talking about what they'd done, where they were to where they were now, and they'd done it all through law of attraction and through manifesting.
Right.
And I was like, well, hang on a minute. How comes all these people are making it work for them? And yet, when I do it, it doesn't. So you know what I'm like, mate.
Yeah, you like to know, don't you? You need to know why. Yeah, he's a why person. He was the original why bird. If you're in the UK, so, he was. Yeah.
So for like anyone, I need to know the ins and outs, and I need to know all the dots and the I's, and I need to know the mechanics of everything.
Yeah.
Because when you do know that, and that's why I learned something about it. That's why I know so much about the human brain and emotions. I know all of that because I needed to know, and I knew it would help, and in some ways it has. But when it comes to the law of attraction specifically, I wanted to know how and why, and so I set out on a journey really. And I spoke in the last one. I was doing this stuff for about 18 months, but didn't really manifest or create anything. To be quite honest, I was like, but I was doing it before. It was just playing with it. I was trying with it, and I knew that this was happening because people were creating evidently proving it. And then there was all these naysayers saying, no, law of attraction doesn't work. It's just all these people that are just basically selling you law of attraction stuff. Yeah. And they're the only ones that are manifesting the car because they're selling you a London nonsense dream. And that sort of worked. But I knew on my journey for esoteric knowledge and learning about how the way the world works, I stumbled across the 7 Hermetic Principles and by Hermes Trismegistus. And it was something that was written by the 3 initiates, and goes back a long way, and there's 7 principles of reality, so which I spoke about in the last time. There's the law of polarity, the law of correspondence, and the law of everything is mind. And right. So once I started listening to that, and I really, really recommend anybody that's serious about learning about the law of attraction and getting it to work for them, you need to go and put 3 hours into listening to it, because by listening to that, you will get an understanding of reality, right. The way it is. Not the nonsense that you're taught, not the physical reality that you believe you live in, that's taught in schools, that's taught by science, and it's taught by the world media, and that we live in a material world. Because what we do know, and you spoke about this in the last episode, was that it's not mechanical, it's energetic.
It's energetic. The world is energetic.
The world is energetic. So when you know that, and you apply these 7 principles, and you understand about how everything is just energy, the physical becomes nonsense, because actually at a fundamental level underneath the physical is the energetic level. Yeah. So now all of a sudden what they've done is they've moved it up a level, and now everything's, but they haven't taught you that everything is vibrating energy and everything vibrates at a certain frequency, and actually everything here isn't really here. It's just your brain interpreting that. Yeah. So what you're seeing is a holographic projection of the outside world in your mind. So realistically, the outside world doesn't theoretically exist, because it's actually existing inside your brain.
That's right.
And your brain is then creating that holographic picture in your brain, but you perceive it to be outside of you, even though there is some sort of physical world.
Yeah.
So and what's not to say that I see the world of trees and colour, and you might actually be seeing it as the Matrix, but that's normal to you. You don't even know any difference. You could just be seeing 1s and 0s, but that means to you blue, green, red. So you could actually be seeing all these numbers running down your face.
Yeah.
But to you, that's normal, because no one else has experienced it. But you've created reality around that, and I might be seeing everything in strange colours. We don't actually know what each other's seeing in order to. So it's all energy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went and learned about the 7 Hermetic Principles, and then I started learning about everything is mind. Which is the start point. Because when you come into doing law of attraction, everything is mind, because everything is manifested in your mind, and everything is then created in your imagination and projected into the 3D world. And once I understood that, I was like, well, okay, now I'm starting to understand this, how that law of attraction isn't some nonsense thing. There is a science behind it.
Yeah, because this is the science behind law of attraction. It's very scientific.
Yeah, and yes, absolutely.
And that's the problem with the main law of attraction phenomena, is it's not scientific. Yeah. But it is actually genuinely scientific, this process.
Yeah, and then then the next one after that is the law of polarity, which is really, really important, because you've got positive and negative.
Yeah.
And then in the middle, you've got your neutral state. Right. Whenever you actually start learning about the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life and the 2 pillars of mercy, I can't remember what the name of the other one is now, but there's the 2 pillars. There's a pillar that goes down the middle of a pillar of neutrality, where you want to be.
That's where you
so
want
it's
to
a bit like when we're switching off people that feel the need to be motivated. It's not the motivation you need to put into them; it's the switching off of the demotivation. And when you do that, they come back into being in the middle and being their natural self.
You come back to being you. That natural state in the middle of those 2 things is you. That's who you are.
Yes.
And that's what DTO does. It brings you back to being who you are.
Yeah. So it's the same thing with the pillar of severity and mercy. Okay, with the Tree of Life. Yeah. Now that understands how the pendulum swings in the law of polarity.
Yes.
And there is everything has its opposites.
Yeah.
And all paradoxes will be reconciled.
Yeah.
And you think, oh my God, now I'm starting to understand how this works. And then you start going into the next one, which is the law of correspondence. And that's the one which, for me, and the law of vibration, they're the 2 things for me that fundamentally nail how the law of attraction works.
Right.
So from a holistic scale, everything is mind. So this view is everything is mind. Whatever you believe is your reality.
That's right.
It's your beliefs. So when I started learning all this and going into it and piecing it all together, I started actually realising that there was something more to this law of attraction. There was a science behind it. And once you know this and you can get it to work for yourself, and you can actually fundamentally get it, you can now start applying those principles to your everyday life. and start adjusting your perception of your worldview needs to change from it being a material, hard work, I got to this, and you're getting there through hard work and success. Yeah, you can, absolutely.
Yeah.
Most people have.
Yeah.
But what a shit way of doing it.
It's a dreadful way of doing
right?
it, yeah.
And what happens is we spend all our life working so hard, being unhappy, having shit relationships, being with people that we don't want to be with because we don't want to leave them because of our security and all the rest of it. And when we get to 65 we retire, in 2 years we had a heart attack and died.
Yeah.
Which is for me, that is not a life.
Rubbish. That's a dreadful life.
That's a crap life. It's an absolute. So, I knew that there was. And then the more people that I started researching, successful people, the more I realised that they were applying all this stuff.
Find law of attraction, that's right.
Attraction to this stuff, and so really that was the key thing really that made me realise that this isn't like mumbo jumbo nonsense, hairy fairy stuff. There is something to it.
Okay, so then you tried for 18 months and it wasn't. You were learning these amazing tools, these secret tools.
Yeah.
It wasn't working. Then you met me, and then we cleared some blocks.
Some.
We cleared quite a few. Blocks. That was a slight, not exaggeration. What's
faux pas, misinformation. That is, mate.
There was quite a few fucking blocks, and we worked those blocks.
Yeah.
But then you started applying these secret tools that you're going to go to now.
Yeah.
Once you realise the science was there, you realise the tools work, but there were secret tools to get it to work. So what are the secret tools that you use most at the moment, as you're clearing your blocks, and we've cleared loads and you still clear, what are the tools you're using the most at the moment to get law of attraction to work?
Right, so there's three. So you've got to realise that this, right, is that your inner world creates your outside world.
Yeah.
Everything is you pushed out.
Yeah.
So life doesn't happen to you. You create everything, and everybody's perception of you is what you've created in your own mind, your belief.
Now, for the listeners, some people, that fries their brains because they cannot comprehend that.
They won't do because they've been taught completely the opposite.
Because they've been taught completely opposite, but B, they could have that much power. Sometimes that much power freaks people out.
Yes.
But also, yes, because they've been taught the complete opposite, that you're not in control of anything and everything happens to you.
Yeah.
And so I've always followed my life like that. And again, I couldn't get it to work till DTO came along, not the way I do now. But that is quite mind-blowing for people. So just say that one more time.
Right, so your imagination creates your reality.
Yeah.
The outside world is a reflection of your internal world.
Yeah.
And everything is you pushed out.
Right.
So everything that every person, how a person is towards you, is your belief about how they're going to be like that towards you.
Or your belief about yourself.
Yeah, or a belief about yourself, how you deserve to be treated. So everything is you pushed out. So whatever's going on for you will get reflected back to you by the people that you've got in your world.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't get it and won't ever accept it.
No.
But if you want law of attraction to work for you, that's the first thing you've got to get.
Well,
until you surrender to that, you're never going to get a law of attraction to work.
And here's the thing, it's not just about getting
well,
law of attraction to work.
Well, you might know that's nonsense. You will get law of attraction to work for you, but you're not in control of it. You're not.
No.
You can't manipulate or control. You haven't got mastery of what happens in your world.
No, you're
by chance.
You're sort of in the driver's seat, but you're not driving the car.
Yeah.
And which is dangerous, at best. And it's not just about
that's a very good way of putting it. Actually,
not just about law of attraction. It's about making your life good. It's about making your life the life you want it to be. And what people try and do is they try and change the external thing constantly to make their life happy. But your life comes from within you.
I can categorically say that once I've been. Shall I start again?
Yes, but what, the whole podcast or just a little bit?
I might need to manifest some elocution lessons.
I think you might,
So, what I was going to say, once I'd cleared all my blocks and my guilt and my shames around all my past and generally become an amazing person again, that's when I was able to make this to work for me as well. Because the biggest problem you've got is that, it's all very... So I knew all of this stuff, but it still wasn't working. And the reason it wasn't working is because I had a lot of blocks and sabotage going. But once I'd got rid of those, I now categorically can say that I'm manifesting things on a regular basis.
Right. So once you cleared your blocks, you understood that everything was happening inside you and that you was pushed... Everything that was outside of you wasn't working, you were pushing out there. That was actually...
It was being reflected back to me. I created it back.
Once you got that and owned it, you then started to change it.
Yeah.
what are now the techniques you use? What are the 3 steps you need to do
so there's 3
to get to change?
So the first thing, that's the first most important thing. The first step is that this is the one I use. But the key one for me is to, first of all, know exactly what it is you want.
Okay.
Be 100% clear on what it is you want to experience or have in your life.
See, now that's difficult for some people because they don't know what they want based on the sabotage.
Yeah, so that could be the job, the sort of person you are. How I've manifested transformational change. I've wanted to become a different person, so I've used this technique and it's happened naturally. It's sort of like I've changed weirdly because that's what I wanted to do, but what's happened. Relationship, you can actually manifest a specific person in your life, which I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, I'm hoping it's going to happen. It's sort of, I'm starting seeing signs that it potentially could happen.
Yeah.
But it could be anything. Anything you want in life, but so you need to be 100% clear on what it is you want, okay? And so the first thing you need to do is create a scene. So what I normally do is I'm very, very good with imagining anyway, so I don't need to.
You're very good with it.
I can literally know exactly what I want and I can create it in my mind. I know exactly what I want. Yeah. But for some people that can't do the imaginal act, because it's very, very important that we go into our mind's eye, our mind video, the video that when we shut our eyes and we see things and imagine things.
Yeah.
That's the important thing. You need to be able to create your imaginal act. So, for example, it might be that you might want a car, for example. I'm just going to use this differently. So you might say, right, I want a car, right? I want the new Audi S3 or RS3. So you've got to know what it looks like. You need to go and do your research. You need to know, it has to be as close to reality, as true to reality as possible. Yeah. So, for example, I would then get the Audi book. I'd look at the new A3. I'd see what was in the interior. I'd look at the wheels. I'd look at the colours and everything. Now I know exactly what that car looks like. Yeah. So now I need to create the imaginal act. So the imaginal act might be, well, I want to see myself driving down the road in the country with the window on, with the stereo on, and I'm driving that car. Right. Yeah. So I've now created it. That's what I want to do.
So imagining it as you're doing it.
No. That's creating. That's the creation. So that you've got to say that's the act I'm going. That's the imaginal act I'm going to create. It's going to look like that.
It's going to right. Okay, gotcha.
Right. Yeah. So that's your prep work.
Right.
The next thing is to have or do the imaginal act. Now, what I've learned is that you need to be in some meditative, hypnotic state. The key thing is in all of this is that we have to impress the subconscious mind. Yes. The subconscious is what's connected to the superconscious, and when we've impressed the subconscious world, the superconscious, the reality outside of us, then reflects it back to us. Yeah. Right? This is the key thing. This is why the belief is so important. Yeah. You can't have contradictory belief to it. No. So once you've got your imaginary act and your imagination creates reality, once you've got the most realistic imaginal act, with all the details, you're now imagining that. But it needs to be done when you can impress the subconscious. So you can't do that in an awake state. So what I tend to generally do is I'll meditate for about 10 to 15 minutes, depending. Sometimes I can get there in seconds, because I'm just in that state. Especially when I'm very, very tired. Because when you're tired and you're sleepy, you can impress the subconscious very, very quickly because your resistance is very...
You're dropping to a different alpha, beta, delta, your theta state. You need to go into theta state, don't you?
You need to go into theta state.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I you can do it in beta, but I think theta's the one.
Theta's the best one. The best way to manifest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Theta. When I did theta healing, that's where you go to do anything in theta healing. You change anything in theta healing.
Yeah, exactly, because you're impressing the subconscious mind.
Weather, you can manifest spaces, you can change people's health, you can do anything within the theta space.
Which is exactly the same principle with the imaginary act. So if you can then impress the subconscious mind with an imaginal act, but you need to do it when you're in a I think it's like a state akin to sleep, right? Or a meditative state, or in a hypnotized state.
It's a meditative hypnotized state.
Hypnotized state. Once you get yourself into that state, you then in your mind bring the imaginary act to life. Yeah. But you need to do it from first person point of view. You can't watch yourself in the car driving it. You need to step into that imaginary act. You need to be imagine yourself sitting in the car, driving the car, changing the gears. But here's the thing, you need to invoke all 5 senses, or as many senses as possible. Right. So you can smell the interior of the car, you feel the steering wheel, you feel comfortable, you can feel the air coming in, you can smell the new interior, the leather seat.
You feel the leather gearbox.
You feel the leather gearbox, do all that, you invoke all those.
Hear the music playing on radio.
Hear the music, so you invoke as many senses as possible, and you keep imagining that act over and over and over and over and over again in your mind while you're staying in that state. Yeah. Then that's the key thing. right? So that's the key thing I do on everything.
Right.
But what you've got to do is you've got to go to the end. So the most important thing is your imaginal act has to start from the end, as if you've already got it, you've already acquired it, and
you're just living with it. You have it now. Yeah. You're enjoying it. So you're enjoying what you have.
You have to live in the end. So, for example, I have imagined a specific person that I want to be with, but I'm not imagining being with that person. I'm not imagining marrying that person. I'm imagining that person in our home a year later, and I've already got the wedding rings on. She's got her wedding rings on, and we're celebrating an anniversary.
Yeah.
So you have to go past. You have to think so. If that's what you want, you have to think and act from it's already been. You've already got it. So you need to think right past that. If you think of the thing, if you imagine yourself seeing yourself with it, that's like having a third party, and the chances are someone else in your life will have exactly the same experience in it. You don't get it.
Right, okay.
Right? So you have to do it from first person point of view. You have to step into it, and you have to embody it, and you have to see everything through your eyes. And
that's very important, because a lot of my clients, they do that wrong. They imagine it like a movie, and they're seeing themselves in the movie having it, but they're not actually looking through their own eyes.
Yes, because that's a copy of yourself.
Yes.
And because you are a projection of my internal world, which is a copy of me, reflected back to me.
Yeah.
You might end up with the girl of my dreams, or you might end up with the car, because it's not actually really you as experiencing it. It's a reflection.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's really, really important that you do it from first person point of view.
Right.
And you have to do it as if you've already got it. So not think about getting the job. Imagine somebody being on the phone going, Steve, I'm so happy that you got that job. It's amazing. I'm going, yeah, I've been there 6 months. I've already got a pay rise. I get on really well. Whatever it is.
Yes.
So you've got to imagine past it. You've got to start at the end. If you do anything before that, you're going to have a thing called a miscarriage, or you'll only manifest that to that point, and you won't. So, for example, if I want this person, if I'm thinking about this specific person and being married to this person and living a life, but I'm trying to think of how I'm going to get there, I can say, well, she's going to text me and then we're going to go out. If I start manifesting those things will generally manifest, but they have no relation to the overall manifestation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're actually, if you think about, I need her to text me to validate that it's happened, actually all I'm doing is getting a text message because I've manifested a text message from her.
Yeah.
It has no relevance to the overall. So that's why you need to live in the end, and you need to completely believe 100% and have faith in that's going to happen. And the thing is this is the next, the most important thing. You have to then drop the desire. You have to drop the imaginal act. You've got to just let it go as if you've not done it. And so you put all of the emotion of it being real, and then you drop it.
Yeah.
And then you come back to the room and you're going to feel, oh my God, what's happening? I'm back in my bedroom. I didn't realise that. But what's happened is you've now impressed the subconscious, and the subconscious then has a seed dropped in it, and that subconscious now goes out and affects everything in the reality to make that manifestation happen.
I'm having trouble understanding right now.
I know you do.
Please try a little later.
So Alexa doesn't understand what you're saying for some reason. But hopefully listeners understand what you're saying and they get it.
I'm having trouble understanding right now. Please try a little later.
So from that understanding that you must let it go and drop it, that's very difficult to do, because it's something that you're emotionally attached to. You really want it. And there was a period with something big you're manifesting where you struggled to let go of attachment.
Yes.
So you then had to...
So this is what I did.
Right.
Is I then created another imaginal act where I was having a conversation with you, telling you that I find it really, really easy to drop attachment, and I can drop my imaginal act.
Right. Great.
Alright? So the problem was I couldn't let go of the feeling, because it was something I want so badly in my life.
Yeah.
So because I want it so badly, the hardest things to manifest are the things that you want so badly, because you're completely reliving it and you can't let it go.
No, that's right.
You can't let it go. And so that's why it's so difficult to have the things that we want to have in our life. So what I then did is you can create another imaginary scene where I'm having a conversation with you. I step into it, I go, do you know what, Jonathan? It's amazing. I've just found it so easy now to drop my imaginal acts and have no attachment. And I kept doing that over and over and over again. Within 1 week, I've been able to drop all of my attachments to all of my future manifestations that I'm waiting to happen. And I'm no longer obsessing with them.
Great.
Because when we obsess with them, so this is what happens why our manifestations don't work, or what we do attract doesn't work, is because we're constantly obsessed with it.
Yeah.
So because we're obsessed with it, what we need to do in order for the manifestation to work is we need to let go of the seed that we've created in our imaginal act. In that seed has a pattern of all the things that's needed in order for you to get to your end result.
Yeah.
It's not your job to work it out. It's not your job to influence it. You need to drop the seed, and then the subconscious and superconscious create them circumstances for you to experience it what you want.
Yeah.
But none of us do that, and we can't let go of it.
No, we try and work out how we're going to get there, don't we? Or what steps are going to happen.
We're trying to interfere with it.
We're trying to, yeah. But we're only humans. There's a problem. People think that we need to work out how something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you don't. You'd have to work out what you want and imagine it.
Yeah.
And then let the universe take over about the how.
Yeah.
Because if you want, your ideal woman could be, or your ideal partner, could be a million miles away. You don't know. So you've got to get to that place to find her, or for her to come into your world.
Yeah.
Or if you want,
it's called the bridge of incidents need to happen for it to...
And there's no way that a human could work that out.
And I can categorically tell you that if you do this correctly, I will guarantee you that you will experience the thing that you've experienced in your imagination.
Great.
Because I've done it and I've experienced it.
You do it a lot.
I do it a lot, yeah. So, but the thing is that the first thing that we do is we obsess. And we can't let it go, and we obsess about that person, or we obsess about the car. We want that thing so bad we can't stop thinking about it, can't stop thinking about it. And the problem is that the reason why most manifestations don't happen, or what we don't attract happen, is because we don't drop the scene, and what we do is we keep going back and conditioning it.
Yeah.
So we keep reconditioning the imaginary act.
Yeah.
So because we keep conditioning it, we never let it go in order for the subconscious to go out and influence all of the external world in order for it to be reflected to us, because we can't let it go, and we keep conditioning it and keep going back to the scene. But every time we keep going back to the scene, it's slightly different from the last time that we did it. So you're now reconditioning it, and so it keeps going back to the start point, The other thing that will then stop you is your inner conversations. So, for example, if you want this specific person in your life, and you really want that person, but they're married, and you're going to go, I really want that or that person in my life, but I'm never going to get her because she's never going to leave him, and anyway, I'm ugly or I'm fat, and it's never going to happen. Yeah. So the inner conversations you have must also be in alignment with the end in mind. Yeah. So you've got to imagine your imaginary act, you've got to believe you've had it and you're living with that person, or you've got the car, but your inner conversations when you think about that thing has to be in alignment with that. So every time you have a negative thought or a negative reaction to it, you need to then change that and finish it on a positive one. So you can't wanting to be with a certain person, for example, and then saying, I've done the imaginary act, but it's never going to happen, and I haven't seen it yet. And now straight away, your true dominating belief is it's not going to happen. Yeah, and it won't happen. Yeah. So you need to change your mental diet.
Because your inner beliefs are important. If you don't love or value yourself, or believe you deserve it, you're not going to get it.
Or even if you believe that it ain't going to happen.
Or it's not going to happen, believe it's not possible.
But the things you know as well as I do, it's the self-talk. Yeah. So there's the self-talk, and our self-talk, fundamentally what I've learned and experienced is our self-talk, it gives us exactly back what we see in our world. Yeah. The issue that we've got is that we have negative sabotage in our beliefs. Yeah. So we believe, we know we really want it, but then all of a sudden we don't deserve it, and it's never going to happen. And all the negative stuff comes out, and you don't deserve it, and all the rest of it, which is the missing piece, which is the bit. And I just want to say as well, it's messing in the middle. Most people mess in the middle, so they might want to meet this person, and they've done their imaginary act where they're having their anniversary. But then they'll start messing up. But in the middle, I'll probably go for a date there, and we'll go on holiday here, and we'll do that. So straight away, you're now messing up with that manifestation because you keep going back.
Too many things in it.
Yeah, because the time you've let go of the imaginal act, which is in the future, and where you come back to now, there's a big gap between now and the time that person's going to be. Yeah. And every seed has its own time. Some, chickens take 21 days to hatch, and humans have 9 months, and horses take a year. Every seed, depending on what it is, has a time period before it to happen. It doesn't happen straight away. It has to happen. But the problem is that time period is very difficult for people because they want it now, they're impatient, they want proof, they want evidence, and therefore they sabotage it before the thing ever happens, either by their mental talk or by messing in the middle.
Yeah.
by messing out, by trying to make things happen or interfere with it.
Yeah, because we all instantly these days, don't we? It's an instant gratification world. So if it doesn't happen instantly, then it's not going to happen, and it's all nonsense.
Patience is so key.
Yes, you have to be patient in this life.
Which I never thought I could ever say that I would do.
Well, patience.
I'm the most
you were never a patient person, were you? No.
But now I know it, and I've tested it, and I've tried it, and I've tested it, and tried it, and tested it, and tried it. I know that ultimately it's going to happen. And the thing is even though sometimes the things you might get evidence contrary to your end act, but that's all still part of the bridge of incidents. And sometimes the key thing is when something happens on the journey is to not react to it negatively.
Yeah.
So you got to not react negatively. You've got to have positive self-talk, and you've got to not have negative sabotage in your beliefs.
Yeah.
And messing with stuff in the middle. All of these things actually will stop you or delay extensively you experiencing the thing that you've experienced in your imaginary act. So they're the three stages I use. The other thing that I also do as well is I will journal, and I'll write stuff down. Because writing stuff down also impresses on the subconscious mind. So as you're writing down, so I might imagine the act, but I also might write down the act. So I might say, I'm imagining sitting in this home with my future partner, and we're having a champagne, and it tastes amazing. And I'm actually writing down a story that I see in my imaginary act.
Yeah.
So it's another way of impressing the subconscious.
Yeah.
So there are many ways of doing it, and the other thing is just assume it's going to happen. You've just got to assume it. So there's so much to it. I mean, I could talk about this stuff for hours and hours and hours and hours in a lot more detail, but they're the key 3 things to do in order to make visualization and the law of attraction work for you. But
so just
the key thing is what you're going to talk about now about blocks.
Okay, well, we've spoken about blocks before, and in the first part, the first law of attraction one we did, we spoke about blocks and sabotage, and everything you said about the self-talk, the negative doubts, that is all your sabotage.
Yes.
That is your sabotage kicking in, and it's very important to clear the sabotage. I'm not going to go into too much detail today. That's in the first law of attraction podcast. If you haven't listened to that, go back and revisit that, because today was all about the secret tips and tricks. So and Stephen sharing his insights about the science. I know nothing really about the science. I never studied the science of law of attraction. I understood the principle when I first learned it. I really understood that it's about clearing your blocks in your beliefs and your unconscious responses. I just couldn't do it fully with the techniques I'd learned until I learned DTO.
Yeah.
And that has been the one system, the one technique that's allowed me to clear my sabotage and evoke law of attraction very quickly.
Well, same for me.
Same for you as well.
Because I was doing all of this stuff anyway. Yeah. I'd learnt all this stuff anyway, but I couldn't get anything to work for me.
No.
Now I've cleared all my blocks, my guilts, my shames and my past. Stuff, now I can do it. I'm having fun with it, mate.
You're having fun with it. It becomes more fun. When you clear your blocks, it becomes fun, doesn't it?
I mean, I've been having stuff happening within an hour. So I thought about something, I visualised it an hour, it's turned up. Yeah. Within an hour.
But you mentioned something to me earlier on, before we was talking about the podcast and what we were going to talk about. You said that actually when you go into imagination, if a block comes up, you do something. What do you do?
I switch it off.
You switch it off using DTO, don't you?
Yeah.
So now, when you're in a visualisation, if the negative belief comes up, you can immediately, now you know DTO.
Yeah, I can do DTO off I can do this DTO switching off in my imaginary act.
Brilliant. So that is then going to speed everything up because you're in that process, and then once you clear it, that has a positive impact immediately in what you're trying to visualise and imagine.
Absolutely.
So it's very important to clear your blocks, because if you do, no matter what technique you use or what tips and tricks you've learnt, it's not going to work for you unless you clear your sabotage and the unconscious beliefs. And hopefully everyone gets that now. So before we wrap up, I just want Stephen to just recap briefly, just list the 3 things that are very important, the 3 steps he does. Just list the 3 things to recap.
So the first thing is to create your imagination. Be in alignment. Know exactly what you want. 100%.
Know what you want. Yeah.
Be completely clear. That's exactly what you want to have, experience, or do, or become.
Right.
Be 100%.
What's number
2 is to create. So you've created the act. The next is to create or to do the imaginal act in your mind's eye.
Yeah.
Step into it.
Yeah.
Become it. See it from first person.
Yeah.
Invoking all the senses to create that imaginal act as if it's really, really real. And it's got as much sense of reality as your awake conscious state.
And number 3?
Third one is to then drop it. Let it go. Right. And go back to living your life normally as if you were before you'd even started the act. and that is dropping the desire. That's forgetting about it. That's stopping looking for answers, looking for signs, stopping going back and reimagining something else, wondering, being curious. Just let it go. Just let it go and just get back to it. Right. It's very difficult, and it does take a bit of time to do that because it's really, really hard, because when you invoke such amazing feelings about the thing that you want so much in your life, it's very difficult to let it go. So, like I said, a great way of doing that is then, if we're having trouble doing that, is later on create another imaginary scene where you're having a conversation on the telephone or in someone in person, and you're saying to them, yeah, no, I had that problem, but now I have no problem in dropping my desire and my attachment to it. Yeah. And what will happen is that will fundamentally happen as well, and you will actually be able to do that. Great. But the key thing is obviously that you need to be able to make this happen. You need to start with switching off your guilt and shames about, because it's all very well you wanting to have the most perfect relationship, but if you've got guilt and shames about relationships, you're never going to manifest it.
No, it won't happen in a million years.
No.
So thank you for that, Stephen. I want to say thank you. That was absolutely brilliant. Ever since I've known Stephen, he's talked to me about the science of law of attraction. I find it more and more fascinating, and I have found that understanding there is actually a science behind it actually made me understand it more and better. And it was quite fun to learn that. It wasn't. Stephen doesn't make it complicated in any way, but it is also about clearing those guilts and shames. But thank you for that. Hopefully that's enlightened people, and I'm sure there's many questions people are going to have. Yeah. So if you do have questions, you can post them on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Or you can post them on Facebook. Facebook. Funny enough, we have a Facebook group, don't we?
Yes,
Inside Our Effect. We've just set it up. Yeah. We've got the website set up now. That's live.
Website's live.
And we've got a Facebook group.
Yeah.
So
a YouTube channel.
Yeah. Which will all be on the website soon. So they're not quite on there yet, the social channels, but the website is inside-outeffect.co.uk. We will put this on the video on YouTube so you can link straight to the website,
and on Facebook,
and our social media will be on there as well.
Yep.
The Facebook page. And we're going to be setting up a LinkedIn page as well, I believe, because of businesses and things like that.
Yeah, well, obviously it's aimed at the businesses world as well. So
yeah. So again, thank you for that, Stephen. Absolutely brilliant, and it was fun to swap with you.
Cheers, mate.
And be the host this time.
There's so much I could talk about. I mean, I've skimmed.
Now you know how I feel when I'm talking about people's problems and health.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to condense it into such a short space of time and give the relevant information, because there's so much information that I've learned over years, and you've learned so much information over the years as well.
Yeah.
So to try and condense that is very difficult, and also have fun at the same time and share stories. So it's been fantastic.
Thank you, mate.
And we will be doing another one on law of attraction.
I think
we're going to
need to, because there's loads of other stuff.
But what are we doing next time? What's the next one we're going to do?
What are we going to do?
I thought about doing PTSD.
Oh,
actually,
okay.
I thought about, as you mentioned PTSD today, and PTSD is a big thing that's coming up at the moment. I thought it'd be a really good one to cover PTSD. Great. So you're really good at that.
I've had 3 or 4 amazing results. I've had 4 people, I think, in the last month. Severe, bleeding missiles and stuff, and I've got rid of it in an hour. The car accident was an hour.
Yeah.
I've had some really great successes with PTSD.
Yeah, so I think we're going to cover PTSD next time, and I'm going to share the tips and the secrets to resolving PTSD, and what the real secret to that is, and how you can do it quickly and easily within a very short space of time or a few weeks, and get your life back again. So stay tuned for that. If you know anyone with PTSD, then let them know that. If you love this audio, and share it with everyone out there, and if you're enjoying the podcast, we're getting lots of great feedback about our podcast, and we're really thrilled about that, and we're loving doing them, and we just want to share as much information as possible. So if you
share it, like it, get as much as you can for us, because obviously the information that we disclose has been acquired through years and years of research, knowledge, hard work, pain and suffering, and we don't want you to go through that. No. Simple as that.
We've done all the research. We've done the hard work of studying how to do it.
Yeah.
You don't need to learn all that. We've made it much simpler for you.
You just got to do it.
You just got to do it. It's much simpler. So we don't want you to go through that. We want you to be free and live happy and live healthy, happy lives. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Thank you to you, Stephen.
Yeah, you might want to say, if you've got any issues with pain, go to Jonathan's website, which is decodingpain.com, and also my own personal website, which is healingthemind.co.uk. But anything else, really, now we want to go to the inside-outeffect.co.uk, and you can email us as well.
Yeah, and so if you are a business and you're struggling with mental health in the business and you need help, or if you're in the public sector, a fireman, a police or nursing or
military.
soldiers, military,
Yeah.
and you're struggling with PTSD, we can help you resolve that so you can either get back to your career that you love, or you can get back to living a life, free of all that, and a healthy, happy life.
Yeah.
Or if you're just, a person yourself suffering with a mental health problem and you really want to resolve it now and you've just had enough, then just reach out and we'll be glad to help you. Until next time, it's goodbye from me.
Yes, and it's also goodbye from him.
Take care, have a great week, everyone, and we will see you next week.
See ya. Bye-bye.